Check out My Expression, greeting cards that will crack you up. Something new, fresh, and original. Use the exclusive code ROCKY from now till December 16th to receive 15% off when you buy any 2 items in the shop. Get excited and shop myexpression.com today. That's my EGGSPRESSION.com. So it's December 25th. Michael's asleep. It's a regular night for him. He's just chilling. His brothers Tito and Marlon, they come in and they wake him. They're like, yo, Mike, there's a newborn king to see. Everybody's bringing him gifts. He was just born and we cannot miss this. Michael looks at them. He's like, a newborn king was born. Okay, fellas, I'll check him out in the morning. I gotta get my 8 hours. And then they push it. They're like, no. Anybody who's anybody is bringing their finest gifts. Let's go, get up. We are in choir with Mary, man. She's the nicest person. We gotta get her baby a gift. So he's awake now at this point. Okay, I didn't know it was Mary's baby. Let me get my sandals on, we'll rock out. So his brothers leave the room and he's thinking to himself, I don't have gifts to bring. What do you give a baby? No stores are open. I haven't been paid yet. I don't have any money. And then he sees his drum in the corner. So he grabs that shit and he rounds up his brothers and they walk over to the manger. Everybody's at the manger. Anybody who's anybody is surrounding this baby. Now Joseph sees Mike with his drum set and he gives Mary a look like, I know this little motherfucker isn't about to play a drum for an infant and call it a gift. And Mary's hitting him on the side of the leg. Just chill. It's all right. I know him. We're in choir together. He's cool. His brothers don't have the same je ne sais quoi, but they're all right. We're good. And Joseph says, I know we're good, but he's about to play drums for our infant baby. Michael steps up. He looks at the baby, and he looks at the conditions of the manger, and he says, I'm a poor boy too. But this is a lie because he is singing sensation Michael Jackson of the Jackson 5. I mean, he's world known, and it was actually surprising that he was even in Bethlehem at the time. So he played for him, Pum-pum-pum-pump, and he played his best for him. Naturally, he woke up the baby. So Joseph gives Mary a look, but it's one of those looks where Mary doesn't turn and look at Joseph because she already knows what he's trying to say with the look he's giving her. She's not acknowledging it. She's thinking, I just gave birth to a baby, a newborn king, don't start. Joseph, he feels the heat, so he turns his head away. Then the baby opens his eyes and smiles at Michael. Perumpa-bum-bum. Now, the wise men are confused. They start whispering amongst themselves, could we have gotten away with playing an instrument? I bought this little dude gold. Then Jasper says to him, shut the fuck up about the gold. You haven't stopped talking about the gold this whole trek. I don't want to hear the word gold again. Meanwhile, Balthasar whispers to Mary and Joseph, yo, I got a small harp in my bag. You think I could get that frankincense back? The Jackson 5 version of The Little Drummer Boy is the only one worth listening to. It's an absolute hit. You might even put it on repeat so many times that you create your own backstory. And that brings us to the Rocky Rundown, where you get to learn a little bit about my week. So this week, I learned how important little traditions are to me. Whether you're single or you're coupled up, you have yourself for the rest of your life. So why not have a little treat for you and only you? My treat is the animated adult cartoon Big Mouth. I absolutely love this show. I think it's brilliant. So every year when the new season comes out, and it's only 10 short episodes a season, I rewatch the seasons prior for a refresher and honestly pure enjoyment. And I do that so my Big Mouth tradition lasts a little bit longer. Now the real treat is when I watch the newest season that just dropped. I am most certainly high on an edible, which then makes the laughter intensify immensely. But here's the real treat. When I go back to the old seasons next year, I've forgotten about the funny part, so it's like a brand new laugh. It's incredible. My guest this week is actress, writer, comedian, teacher, and the co-host of her very own podcast, We Stand Together. Her name is Lauren Brickman, and because you're chomping at the bit to know what her mystery word is, it was NYE, which stands for New Year's Eve, which is coming so fast. For that reason, I won't take up more of your time. Please like, subscribe, share, rate, and review the podcast. If you've already celebrated Hanukkah, I hope it was wonderful. If you're planning on celebrating Kwanzaa or Festivus for the rest of us, enjoy. And for the rest of you, Merry Christmas, baby. Hi, Lauren. Welcome. Thank you for doing the podcast.
Of course. It's so nice to see your face.
It's so nice to see your face. I've been seeing your face probably like once every month to 6 weeks because we've been going on our quarantine walks, but only from here up.
Yeah, I know. I usually see a big piece of fabric right where your mouth hole goes.
Because that's what you're supposed to do during the pandemic.
And we follow all the CDC guidelines. We're good girls in that sense.
Pretty much good girls. Pretty much.
Pretty much.
I mean, you're pretty much a good girl. And you know what? I am too. I'm not outing myself for being a bad girl. Haven't really been given the opportunity, if I'm being truthful. Hence why I started a podcast reminiscing about wild times. What else have you been up to?
In the quarantine,
yes.
I have been teaching a lot. I just literally minutes ago ended a class. So that's been interesting, teaching online. We learn, we grow, we change every day.
I was watching your Instagram story. All your students were writing some really nice things about you.
It was really sweet. I teach public speaking, amongst other things. And in one of my classes, I assign them for the final to do like a vocal journey reflection. Like, where did you start and where did you end? And I promise you in the instructions, it did not say nice things to your teacher. I don't know if they were all just like, last time we saw her, we were worried about her mental health. But like, so many of them said such sweet, kind, lovely things. And I got emotional.
That's okay.
I was feeling my feels.
That's all right.
It is all right. It was nice. It's been really wonderful to have that outlet and to have a sense of purpose in the quarantine, getting to work with students. I set up a Google Voice number so they could text me. And so often they will text about stuff that has nothing to do with my class. I'm glad that they have that. I'm glad to be a resource.
Okay, so I would like to learn something. What is a Google Voice number?
Through Google, you can set up basically like a burner number so that like they don't have your real phone number. And the nice thing about Google Voice is that you can download an app, but you can also use it on your web browser. So I set it up so that way, like the main reason I started this for my students is because when we first switched to online, sometimes students weren't getting strong enough Wi-Fi signal, so they weren't showing up to class. And I wouldn't always know because if you don't have Wi-Fi, you can't email.
Right.
Long story short, they were able to text sometimes even when they weren't able to email. So I set up this thing so I could get real-time notifications so they could text me and be like, Professor, I'm locked out, or Professor, I'm running late. And eventually I had to move to like, these are the hours you're allowed to text me during.
Okay.
But it's been great. And I'm outside of that, watching a lot of TV, but that's nothing new. I do that even out of quarantine.
Yeah. You're a big Hallmark Christmas movie person, right?
I am. I will say I feel a little embarrassed because that has become part of my brand. And this year I feel like I've really fallen down on the job. But I do love Hallmark. I do dream of being in a Hallmark movie. I have a lot of ideas. If anyone listening works for Hallmark or a production company that has a relationship with Hallmark, get at me. But this year there's been a lot of Christmas content. There's a lot of holiday content.
Have you watched A California Christmas?
On Netflix? Not yet. But I will be watching it this weekend.
I assure you that the person who wrote this movie, he wrote it not thinking it had to be about Christmas and then just inserted Christmas things along the plot line because this is not a Christmas movie.
Oh, I love that. I love a rom-com dressed up to be a Christmas movie. I love when it's like, oopsie.
Yeah, I actually think you will really enjoy this movie. It felt very much how movies used to be, where the guy is like, you can charm her because you're a hot dude. And she's a homely person who works on a farm, who's down and out. It felt very icky in that way, but also those are the movies we grew up watching. So it was familiar, but then, you're reconditioned to be like, this is bad and you're not supposed to like these guys. I won't say spoiler alert, but I'm sure you know how it ends.
Oh, I can already tell you what happens in this movie, and I know nothing about it other than its name.
Well, speaking of know nothing about,
Mm-hmm.
before Lauren and I met up on here on this Zoom call, I did ask her for her
Mm.
wild night story. I asked her for one word and she said NYE. And unless you live under a rock, that stands for New Year's Eve. I don't know anything about this story.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I've heard it in passing. Lauren and I, well, we've been friends for almost 15 years now. Yeah.
Oh my God, so long. We were babies.
Yeah.
We were still in diapers, barely learning how to walk when we met.
Yeah, and one of us still is. No, not me. No, it's me. So I don't know if I know the story, but I'm really excited to hear it. Lauren, so take it away. Tell us your New Year's Eve wild night story.
Well, I've always been a big New Year's Eve fan. I don't know what it is about New Year's Eve, but like going way back, I remember in like elementary school, I had a friend who like lived down the street, and we would have like in like elementary school, middle school, we'd have like a big New Year's Eve sleepover. I remember like the greatest heartbreak of my life as a child was like one New Year's Eve sleepover, I got the stomach flu
Mhm.
and had to leave and like threw up all over my friend's dad's car as he was driving me home.
Yeah, that's
And
always great.
it was always great, but it would like bum me out because I was like, oh, I look forward to New Year's Eve. I always have for some reason. In college, New Year's Eve started to become an even bigger deal because Rocky and I went to school on Long Island, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump into Manhattan.
Absolutely.
So,
It was like the sixth borough. Really
Mhm.
quick trip. And we're partiers. So
Yes,
New
yes,
Year's
yes.
Eve, that's probably another reason why you love New Year's Eve so much. Not to
Oh,
speak for you, but it's
for
why I
sure.
love it. Yeah.
It's a big party. It's also like New Year's Eve has no religious associations with it. It's a non-denominational event.
Is this about
And
your war on Easter again? This girl
Yeah.
hates Easter.
listen, Jesus, what have you done for me, Jesus? Why do you get so many days about you? That's all
He
I'm saying.
gets a lot of days.
You get a lot of days, dude, and the rest of us I'll get one. No, but I like.
Can I
the fact
just
that it's, like,
sidebar on Jesus really quick because I thought just really quick while we're talking about Jesus.
Of course, I figured we'd talk a lot about Jesus today. So this
Absolutely.
is exactly what I thought.
And
Mhm.
honestly, I think Jesus is super cool.
Yeah,
In his
of course.
own way. He was also, let's
Yeah.
get really controversial. Jesus was a socialist. Check
Mhm,
the
absolutely.
tape. Jesus was a socialist. But I follow a lot of psychedelic accounts and accounts
Yeah.
about the positive effects of psilocybin and magic
Mhm.
mushrooms. There are so many things that say that the Bible is made up of stories people who did mushrooms back in the day, and it was just their adventures. And so there's this whole conspiracy theory that that's what the Bible is about. And I just wanted to
Wow.
insert that in there for the people.
Okay, well now I guess I can end my war on Easter.
Yeah,
So
It's
yeah,
got to end.
It's got to end. Okay, well,
That's why I had you on here. It's because of your war on Easter.
thank you so much. I appreciate that when you confront someone, you tape it and
Yeah.
record it so that you have the receipts to prove that it happened.
What
And
would Jesus do?
what would Jesus do? Wow, Raquel, I'm shocked that you have not either started a cult or joined a cult yet. Something to put on the bucket list.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, both.
I
But
would go for both.
Jesus aside, New Year's Eve is definitely a big party night, but it's just also one of those things where I feel like there was always permission to like go out and be with your friends, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a holiday where it's like it's cool, go do your thing, whatever. My family was always cool about like we can do stuff during the day and then the night is yours.
Got it.
In college, having Manhattan as a playground, I sort of had a crew that started to form. I didn't spend every New Year's Eve with this crew, but there was like a crew of us that started to hang out. And we hung out several New Year's Eves post grad too. And this particular New Year's Eve that I'm going to tell you about was one when right after undergrad, I immediately went to grad school and in Iowa, which none of you could remember. So I was like, how's Idaho? How's Illinois? How's Indiana? No one can
You
remember
just
what
said
state.
it, and I still don't. I didn't retain what state it was in. I know it begins with an A.
Yeah, I was in Alabama. No, but I was in Iowa, and I came back for Christmas break because my grandmother wasn't able to travel. So instead of going back to my parents' house in Oklahoma, my parents and we all flew to New York, and we did. And then I was like, I'm just going to stay for all of winter vacation. So I was still there for New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
And I reached out to my New Year's Eve crew, and there was still a crew of us. New Year's Eve in New York, there's just always so many possibilities. And everyone that was a part of this evening kind of had a different idea of what New Year's Eve should be. And instead of picking one, we just crammed them all into one night.
Love it.
And so we started the night with dinner, and then people split off from there. And from there, and I'm not going to name check anyone, though, Rocky, you're probably going to figure out who some of these people are, but many of them have families now, so I'm not I'm going to keep all these folks innocent, but I'm sure.
Or give them fake names is something people do too.
So we had dinner, and then we started the night in like Queens, and then went all the way uptown to a friend who at the time, I don't truly understand, but Jesus is already coming back. Didn't realize the callback would be so soon. We had a dear friend of ours who post-grad was like, I don't know how to properly describe this. I think she was running, I called it a flop house for Christians. Basically, people who were doing like missionary work in New York. Basically like the house mother for all of these sweethearts. And she decided to have a New Year's Eve party. And it was such a strange way to start the evening, because one of the things that, and no tea, no shade, if you're listening, I love you. I'm not, but one of the wild things about this house was that they had pictures of like starving children in third world countries hanging up to like promote not being like gluttonous and to promote being like thankful.
That's our baby.
Mm-hmm. And so there was all of these like really gut-wrenching photos up. Meanwhile, the party was mostly a combination of like college friends, good Christians, and like Broadway ushers. And it was like a very interesting crew of like folks. So the evening started like very gentle, very sweet, but then that was uptown. We pretty quickly had to go. I forget where we went next, because the whole night is kind of one big blob. But we went somewhere. All I know is we spent a lot of time on the subway, and I had my pockets filled with booze. Yeah. So like I was keeping the party going everywhere. So naturally. Like, A train, we're drinking. C train, we drinking. 6 train, we drinking. And the fun part is that one of the girls in the New Year's Eve crew had, while I had been away in Iowa, had met the like love of her life. And New Year's Eve, I'd been hearing about this person, and New Year's Eve was the first time that we were going to meet. So we're getting real sloppy drunk, and we haven't even gotten to like the main event that we're supposed to be going to. And this guy who I've never met before, he's so drunk, and he pulls me aside and he goes, I want you to know I'm going to marry your friend. Aww. Turns out he did. It was really, really sweet.
Love it.
But the night...
Can I ask, was I at their wedding?
I don't think you were at their wedding. But there's a lot about that wedding that I've blacked out because I was having too much fun.
Got it.
That's the thing that happens. But I don't think you were at that wedding. We've been at some good weddings together, but I don't think we were at this particular wedding together.
Shocking to me that I wasn't invited, but carry on.
Yeah, this crew of college friends we didn't interact with this particular bunch of friends together that much.
Got it.
So, wow, this is incredibly strange to talk about something, but also trying to protect identities.
Okay. Yeah. And also, if you want to give people fake names, that's an option too. But that becomes confusing then if you're like Roy and Troy.
Yeah.
And,
it's kind of a fun challenge. It
is fun. Yeah.
Very strange looking you in the eyes, someone who I've never lied to in my entire life. And
that's true. You haven't.
Everything to. I don't have any secrets from you. So it feels very counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Hold anything back, and I have to keep looking at my microphone to remind myself I'm not just on a FaceTime with you.
And also, I love our friendship.
I love our friendship too.
Carry on.
Side note.
I love it. I love our friendship.
So anyway, so this New Year's Eve started off very tame, very sweet, very great, but like I am drinking heavily. And so a thing about me, and Rocky knows this firsthand, and we're cut from the same cloth. It's Absolutely. Like when we're having fun, everybody else wants to have fun with us, and they think that they can drink like we can. And that's a lie.
Yeah.
It's a lie that people tell themselves. Like, not everyone is built the way Rocky and I are built. And like, that is not true for everyone. And so this gentleman caller of my friend's, her future husband, he had not had the Brickman experience. And so he's matching me drink for drink, shot for shot. And as we are traipsing our way through Manhattan, I'm watching this poor veteran who has fought for his country and is so strong just become silly putty. I'm just watching him slowly, and it's a beautiful sight to behold because it's coming from joy. It's coming from a place of like, I've met the love of my life. I'm meeting one of her best friends. We're having the best time, and everyone's just, you know, disintegrating. Eventually, we got to the part of the evening that I wanted everyone to do, which was at Joe's Pub, which is a venue in downtown New York. It's attached to the Public Theater. At Joe's Pub, they were hosting this dance party that the cast of Hair was like DJing and like vaguely like responsible for.
Yeah.
But the whole idea was that like all of the proceeds were going to support a charity, toast the new year and celebrate. By the time we finally got there, because we had been to dinner, we had been to another party, I think we stopped at a bar, we'd been drinking on the trains, which were taking forever. By the time we got there, we were all like already belligerent. But like,
and this Joe's Pub was on the agenda,
yes,
or it wasn't
like,
something that was just presented?
This was the thing that like I wanted to do, because it was sort of like everybody had their thing. Like, so-and-so wanted to go to the uptown party, so-and-so wanted to go to a bar, so-and-so wanted to go to dinner. I think we started at somebody's house. Like,
compromise.
Yeah, so it was like everybody sort of got to like pitch in. And my thing was, I want to go to this dance party. And they were like, cool, but it needs to be towards the end. And I was like, I don't care when we go, I just want to go to this party. Because I had that summer been working at a theater company, and I had then immediately flown to Iowa. So like met all these people and then not really been able to keep up with contact. In my gross little businessy brain, I was like, this will be a great chance to network. Let's go remind people who I am before they have no chance of remembering. But networking is not great to do when you have been drinking for hours.
Yeah.
I don't know what I thought. Like, I was young, I was naive, I was dumb.
No, it's a good point. That's why I'm doing a podcast in my little brother's bedroom right now.
Mm-hmm.
From all the networking nights I've done drunk have led me here.
Gubbus, you know.
Gubbus, yeah.
Listen, they may not have been a classy road, but it was an exciting road, and
the
we're
road
still breathing.
less traveled.
So we finally get to Joe's Pub, and it's like fun. It's so crowded. We're so drunk, and Raquel, you have witnessed this person. There is a dark passenger that lives within me, and there is a version of me that, like, when I get to a certain level of drunk, I don't think that things are optional. I just get what I want and I do what I want, right? Like,
I get that.
Right? Like, I know you get that, and I know you live in that space too sometimes, and I know you've met my monster. I think for a while I was calling it like monster mode. I'd be like, uh-oh, we about to flip into monster mode. And so I definitely flipped into monster mode and realized that there was like a VIP section of this party happening, and I was like, obviously we need to be in the VIP section. As drunk as I was, like, I very, very vividly remember it never crossed my mind that like there'd be any obstacles to getting into the VIP. I was just like, oh, there's a VIP room. Obviously I belong there.
Right.
And two, I think people that like might remember me will be up there. So I was like, I deserve to be there. People will understand that. At some point, my friend's now husband, then boyfriend, he and I got separated from the rest of the group. So it was just me and this very drunk dude who I was meeting for the first time. And he's like all on board. He's like, I am thinking about nothing but rainbows and puppies and the fact that I'm thinking about proposing to this woman and we're having the best time of our lives. He's like, let's do it. Both of us are feeling like just truly invincible. We walk upstairs and we just walked straight into this like VIP thing, because what it was there was like this like balcony thing, and the guy who was DJing the party was like set up in this balcony, and they kind of made it the VIP hangout space. And so we just like walked in, and I knew a few people kind of that were up there because I had worked with them. I wasn't actually friends with anyone, and it was one of those things where like I walked in and people looked at me like, oh, her face is familiar, but I can't place how I know it. So It was that awkward, we're gonna nod, but we're not gonna say anything because we don't know who you are, but like we do know we recognize you. I was living in that gray space thinking it was pure validation. Mind you, my friend's boyfriend didn't know anyone, is not in the industry, new to New York, but just had that confidence of a person who's like, obviously I belong here. So we're having the time of our lives. And then I've alluded to this moment on my podcast, We Stand Together, but I've never talked about it in depth. But everyone was being cool. It was New Year's Eve and everyone wanted to party except for one person. there was someone in the VIP room who decided that they needed to like throw their weight around.
There's always one.
There's always one, right? There's that person who it's like, we weren't doing anything bad. As drunk as we were, like we were basically keeping to ourselves, having fun with the fact that we were in the VIP room. Mostly what we were trying to do was get the attention of our other friends who were downstairs.
Yeah.
We were mostly trying to get them to look at us just to be like, we got up here. But this one person clocked us. I don't know what it is about these people. There are people in this world who just need to throw their weight around, because if they don't, then they, I don't know, realize they're not immortal. I don't know what it is. You know?
It's a very specific type of person who just is no fun.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. 100%.
They think that they're going to be on this power trip if they it's tattletales. It's whoever tattletaled in second grade, that's this person.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And this person who's, I'm just going to call them Blia Malel, who was, you know, star of stage and screen. But Blia Malel, very loudly. She very loudly, I heard her voice and I very loudly heard her say to like security or somebody, I don't know, hey, I'm pretty sure there are people up here that aren't supposed to be up here, very loudly. And I heard her repeat it. Like, she didn't just say it once, she repeated it. Here's what's wild about being a celebrity is that she and I had actually met, and actually more than anyone on that balcony, I had gotten more FaceTime with her, because like maybe like a year before her big TV debut, she was doing a show and I was working for a theater company, and the cast was much older, and so like some of the younger cast members were like, oh, the staff is closer to our age, and so they were like hanging out with staff, and we would go out to the bar and stuff, and like we had like several making eye contact conversations.
She knew who you were.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, like, I do want to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, I don't know what it's like to suddenly be like a huge fucking star. I don't know what that's like. Can't wait to find out what it's like.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to it. So please, if I'm an asshole, call me out for this. But like, so maybe she was just dealing with stuff. It's wild when people forget that they're like a human being first and foremost, and they think that they're like an entity. And it's just that weird thing of it's like, yeah, maybe you don't remember me. But
it's
whatever.
New Year's Eve.
It's New Year's Eve. Like, why you gotta be an asshole? It was so funny. At the time, I clocked that she and the DJ must have been dating. Months later, I got the receipts that I had been looking for. But I clocked there was something going on with them. And the DJ had been someone who I had sort of met a few times, but I also knew was just like a chill as fuck person that would just like be the opposite of that energy. Because, you know, there's always that tattletale, but then there's also always the person who like just smooth things over. And like when the tattletale raises their hand in class is like, hey, it's not a big deal. Let's all just get along. And I was like, oh, this dude's that energy. And so I made eye contact with her and like marched my ass over to the DJ. Because again, I'm in monster mode. And I was just like, hey, what's up? And like, I knew he would just like go with the flow. And he totally did. I have no idea if he actually remembered me, but he was a perfect improv scene partner. And yes, and did and agreed so hard. And we had this whole moment, turned around, looked at my friend's boyfriend and was like, this is actually getting pretty boring. We should leave. And then just walked out. I just felt like in that moment, it felt like I won, because what it felt like she wanted was for us to get like upset and apologetic and like whatever. But instead I was just like, no, I'm gonna go talk to your man, have a whole conversation, and then flip my hair and walk out. And it felt very, very powerful. And then immediately rallied the troops, went out and was like, we have to leave, because if I don't leave, I'm gonna cut her. I was like so mad. I was like furious, and I was like ranting and raving and telling everyone that would look at me, Blia Malel is a huge itch. And I was so mad.
There's now a war on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the original war, like all of my anger about Easter actually stems from this interaction with Blia Malel. And so when all of those stories came out about her at the beginning of quarantine, I was like, I believe. Yeah. Because this is not my only story where she doesn't come out smelling like roses. But anyways, we get out into the street and I'm like ranting and raving like a lunatic on the streets while everyone's like, well, where are we going to go next? What do we want to do? And my friend's boyfriend falls into the snow. He just falls down and becomes like completely useless. Our group separates even further.
Okay.
And truth be told, I then just kept drinking. Like there's just at bars on the street. I think I did a lot of street drinking, but somehow we left Joe's Pub probably around like 1 something in the morning, and my ass didn't get home till like well after 7 a.m. But
so there's
I don't know. I have like vague memories of bits and pieces of things.
Okay.
But that's what I love about New Year's Eve in New York, is that you can just have so many chapters.
Yeah.
You can be in 18 million different places and meet 18 different people. 18 different people, as if that's a lot. I meant 18 million different people.
Yeah.
And that's what's so exciting. And I just love the magic of New Year's Eve.
If you guys are looking to support a new Black Latinx business this holiday season, check out De La Vibes Boutique. They have everything from shirts to keychains to earrings. Not to mention, they are affordable, yes. And with my promo code Wild Nights, you're going to get 10% off your entire order. So check them out at De La Vibes Boutique on Instagram or delavibesboutique.com. And remember, use promo code Wild Nights for 10% off your entire order now till December 31st. That's promo code Wild Nights at delavibesboutique.com. Mountain Mama Magic is a holistic health company specializing in long-distance Reiki, chakra candle making, and other spiritual health products. All candles are 100% soy and scented with clean fragrances, made with essential oils and free of harsh chemicals. Visit the website Mountain Mama magic spelled MAGICK.com, and use the code Rocky to get free shipping on all your orders. That's Mountain Mama magic spelled MAGICK.com, and use the code Rocky to get free shipping on all orders from now till January 6th.
I've done it all. I've done the sit in your pajamas and be at home with your family. I've been in Pittsburgh watching the Gin Blossoms play a concert. I've seen some weird shit on New Year's Eve, but no matter what happens, they're always fucking fun.
They are. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Did you have a New Year's kiss that night?
No. That's one thing. I don't know that I've ever had like a legitimate New Year's kiss. I may have kissed a friend who was married to a man that night, who is a man that was married to a man. But I don't know that I've ever had like a full-blown New Year's Eve kiss.
I had my New Year's Eve kiss this year because I was at my old job. We just were partying there, and my New Year's Eve kiss ran from behind the bar. And we kissed at midnight. It was so fun, so exciting. Like, it was just one of those moments where we looked at each other and we're like, this is happening. And they were one of the people in the group of my coworkers who we concluded probably about 3 months later, because we all got sick New Year's Day. And I just thought it was from excessive partying. But I think that all 5 of us that got sick had the famous COVID-19.
Did you get your antibodies test?
Yeah, and I got it in May, I believe, but I didn't have any antibodies. I don't know how accurate it is. I was so sick on New Year's Day that I looked at Mike Enright. I was at his house on New Year's Day. I looked at him and I said, I think I'm passing away. And all my coworkers, we were in a group text about it, about how sick we were. And then a couple months later, we went back to the group text and all checked in with each other. We were like, yo, guys, did we have COVID-19?
Wow.
It was bad.
That's the thing about New Year's Eve, is that New Year's Eve is so much fun, and New Year's Day is, I find that 90% of my New Year's days have been spent playing the game, is it the flu or do I have a hangover? Like, and it's almost always I have a hangover, but the New Year's Eve hangover is a special kind of hangover that really makes you see as it's been lived up to that point and really question everything that's led you there.
I'm curious how it's going to be once we're out of quarantine, and because I do think once the vaccine is underway and we can start going back to bars and restaurants like normal, though things won't be like normal again, I do think that it's going to be not as weird as people think. I think people are going to fall back into the routine. However, we will have aged a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I've already started aging. Like New Year's Eve, part of the reason when we were talking about what story to tell, I was like, New Year's Eve has kind of been on my brain lately.
Yeah.
I was just explaining to my friend Victoria, I always love New Year's Eve, but the older you get, it starts to change because like everyone in my old crew, like every person in that I hung out with on this particular New Year's Eve is like married with kids, and you just don't Now, this isn't to be ageist or anything, and not to say
Oh,
that
this is an ageist
dads can't have
podcast. Go
fun.
ahead. No.
Like, it's just different. Like, it's
Yeah.
just different. People sprawl out all over the country. And
Yeah.
like, person who used to plan where we'd have dinner on New Year's Eve is now a stepmom in Washington State. So it's like,
Right.
it's so interesting and so weird. This year on New Year's Eve, my ass is going to be probably seated on my parents' couch in Oklahoma City.
Right.
I doubt I'm going anywhere, but who knows?
I had my first drink ever on New Year's Eve on my parents' couch in secret. Yeah. So I think it was either 8th grade or my freshman year of high school. And I had 3 of my girlfriends over.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of my girlfriends, because I think I did like a friend sleepover for like 2 or 3 years in a row on New Year's Eve. And one of the girls I'm no longer friends with, haven't been friends with for years. So Megan, if you're listening, this is not you, obviously. She's the only one I'm still friends with from that group. But one of the girls was really kind of aggravating me.
Yeah.
And just getting on my nerves. I don't know. The party wasn't going, the sleepover wasn't going the way I envisioned it. And so I knew that my mom had some Zimas behind the couch in our like den. We call it the little room, but behind the couch in the little room. And so I went behind the couch and I like in secret opened this Zima and put it in a cup and drank half of it. And one of the girls, I think it was the girl who was getting on my nerves, ended up saying to me, "Are you drunk?" And I had only had like half a Zima. Yeah, that was the first time I ever drank.
That's
I drank alone.
New Year's Eves are so, that's what's so exciting is like, there's just like a sense of like possibility and adventure, even when they go horribly wrong. I had a New Year's Eve a couple years ago that I had like a really crazy week where, God bless the holidays, but like right before Christmas, UCB used to host this like gift exchange. The late Tibby Wood, who was just an absolute angel, he used to organize, you could sign up, you would get matched with someone and like he would just put pairs together and you would get their name, and it developed into a thing where like he would like send you like a little something about like a little bit of information. Every time that I participated, I got matched with someone I had never met before, and so
that's kind of cool.
It was really cool because it became like networking mixer type thing. And I remember the first time I participated in it was the first year I was on a house team at UCB, and I went and like this guy came up to me and he was like, "Hey, you're Lauren, one of my friends is on your team," and like was like, and I was like, "Oh, is this what it's like to be in a house team? People like know you." Like I felt so cool in that moment. And then the guy ended up following me on social media, and we ended up like, he like slid into those DMs the next day, and I was just like, okay, this is cool. And I ended up going on what remains probably the best date I've ever been on. Like, he picked a place that I loved, that I had secretly always been like, I wish a guy would take me here. Why do I always have to take myself? Yeah. And it was one of those nights where you order a glass of wine to start, and then by the end of the night you're ordering like a second bottle because there's just like never ending conversation, and like you're texting each other in the cab on the way home because it's like magical. And at the time, one of my best friends in the whole world, Zeke Smith, was still living in New York, and Zeke and I used to co-host a holiday party every year, which I think you came to at least one of them.
I think I've been to 2 or 3 of them. You guys have done quite a few. At his old apartment with the windows.
Yeah, his old. Yeah, we used to co-host this epic Christmas party, right? Like truly epic. And we used to have these amazing themed parties, and the date with this guy happened the night before, 2 days before, I don't know. And we were texting, and he'd already been invited to the party because he knew Zeke separately from me. Right. And I was like, oh my God, it's going to be so much fun. And then he never showed up, and then sent me this lame text that was like, I'm working too hard, but let's catch up this week. And I was like, okay. But I got really drunk that night and got upset and got mad and ended up hooking up with someone else at that party because Monster showed up. Famously, Chris Burns is still mad to this day because I started making out with this guy at the party, and I was so drunk, I thought Chris's back was the couch, and I kept,
oh my God, Lauren, you used and abused him like furniture.
And Chris literally turned around and screamed, I'm not a fucking couch. And I think, all jokes aside, I think he is still very mad about this moment because anyways, So that was a messy sloppy. I'm messy sloppy. But I was still so into this dude who didn't show up to the party. But to this day, I don't know if someone at the party told him that I hooked up with someone else because I wasn't hiding it.
Right.
Or if something, I don't know what happened, but this guy went from like all in to like completely ghosting me. And then at New Year's Eve, so this was like mid-December, like 2 weeks later, there was UCB used to have, they wouldn't host it, an improv team would like sort of host an unofficial UCB New Year's Eve party. So I went to the unofficial party that year, and Zeke and our friend Whitney came as my date because I had been like, this dude and I had like had all these holiday like plans, but then he completely ghosted and I was feeling weird. So Zeke and Whitney decided to be my date that night. And then we go to this New Year's Eve party and I see the dude, the ghost. The ghost is at the New Year's Eve party. And he's talking to two people that I knew pretty well from the indie improv world, one of which had been on a team with me. And I go over to say hi. And this woman who I was on the team with, she had no idea that I had met this guy.
Right.
She introduces me to him. It turns out he was like their roommate, and he pretends like we've never met.
If there is nothing worse than a ghost, it's a ghost who pretends you've never met before. There is a special place in ghosting hell. I hope guys who do that kind of shit, I hope their dicks freeze and fall the fuck off.
I truly have never experienced that like face to face like that before. And it was just so bizarre. But till this day, again, I don't know, I behaved badly. That could have gotten back to him, but like I don't know, it was, be mad, say something, don't just like deny. I don't know, this is weird. As I'm talking about this, I'm realizing, why do I love New Year's Eve so much when I have multiple stories about people looking me in the eye and not recognizing me?
Are people not the weirdest?
People are so weird. We're all so weird.
I love it. I kind of love it.
It's kind of exciting. I mean,
it makes life exciting.
Honestly, this story is probably far more exciting than a relationship with that man would have been. So,
oh, absolutely. There's no.
So I can.
They don't. The guys who ghost ghost are just.
I was mad though. I did. He had made a bunch of promises about different holiday parties that he was going to take me to. That's what I think I was upset the most about. I got excited about going to this holiday party.
Yeah.
Rude.
I think next year, I read something today that said, no wonder people in the roaring 20s were literally just getting dressed up and going balls to the wall. It's because they survived the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go balls to the wall next year.
Oh, I'm so excited. I was watching a tutorial about how to get like a really good glitter eye.
Okay.
I'm here for it. And I'm also like trying to save money. Have you ever seen these, like, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, so somebody slide into my DMs and correct me, but there's this dress company called Selkie, Selkie, I think, and they have the most over the top feminine dresses that just look like something you would want to put on a doll as a child.
Okay.
But they're like so beautiful and they're so expensive. I want to save up to buy a Selkie dress to go out on the town and like have my glitter eyes. This is a dream I have.
We have to go out in Astoria.
Well, because we're really good at going out together. I feel like we're a very dynamic duo, and there's few people on earth that I enjoy going out on the town with as much as I do.
Thank you, Lauren. I feel similarly. I feel like we do. We know how to go out and have a good time, especially in Astoria. Mm-hmm. I bought my couch because of one of the nights we went out. When we saw the night I'm talking about?
Yes. The night that was that the Irish guy night?
Oh.
No. Was that a different night?
It wasn't the Irish guy night. It was the night we went to that pool hall and watched
pool hall night. Yeah. Slam dunk. Oh, yeah. Which was going to be our new thing. Hopefully, will the vaccine be here in time for us to go to Slam Dunk Fest or whatever that was called?
I think the Slam Dunk competition is canceled for next year, as far as I know, but I bought this couch because I said, I have to have a party in 2021 where people are comfortable and they're introduced, because I know that, a lot of people we are friends with do not know about the Slam Dunk competition. And
I had no idea.
Me neither. It's mesmerizing.
It was mesmerizing. For anyone that hasn't watched, there's this the NBA hosts this thing called like the slam dunk contest, and we went looking for some single men and we found a new passion for sports that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, passion for basketball. It was so cool to watch. So I bought this couch to host at my house, and now, I mean, it was perfect for the quarantine, but
yeah, there'll be hosting duties eventually. But I do have to say, one of the things I love the best about our friendship is that we do live walking distance from each other, which is iconic. But we are so good at like just sending the like you up text, and like pre-quarantine that meant you up, let's go drink and have fun and be on the town, and now it just means, do you want to go for a walk? But
do you want to go for a very tame walk around Astoria? It doesn't matter the degrees outside, we're down for it. No, it wasn't the Irish guy night.
That was an epic night for you.
Yeah. How happy would my mother be if I brought that man home?
He was a good looking guy. She might be kind of happy.
She would be really happy if I brought him home. He was gret, in the biblical sense too. If we're talking about Jesus. He was great in the biblical sense. I have a serendipity with him. I see him. I've run into him twice in the quarantine, and one of the times was with you.
Was with me.
Yeah.
We saw him and he recognized you with your fabric all over your face, and he stopped us on the street. That was crazy.
What can I say? I'm recognizable.
I love that. I love it, but
yeah, I ran into him another night, but both times, no mask. Bro,
no, bro.
Bro.
He's off the rotation because he didn't follow the CDC guidelines.
Absolutely. I only have room for men who are following CDC guidelines. And this guy is not wearing masks. But I run into him before the pandemic. I would run into him all over Manhattan. I've run into him at the Standard Beer Garden. I've run into him on 33rd Street. I've run into his best friend bartending at a different bar I was out with our mutual friends, and I ran into him, and yeah. We have a serendipity. Serendipity.
Oh, I felt good about that one. I felt good about that pull for you. But he needs to stay behind was that 2019 or 2020?
It was 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe after the pandemic. I'm sure I'll run into him 40,000 more times, but
I'm sure.
He's my little Irish guy, Astoria serendipity. We love him.
We love the small town vibes of Astoria. We love that we can run into people a second time. I mean, he's obviously listening to this because he follows you on social, I'm sure.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. He does. I know he follows me, but
he follows you. He's definitely following you. There's something so Irish dudes are so funny. I studied abroad in Ireland, and one of the most fascinating things was I met a guy when I was studying abroad who fully had two Facebook accounts. There was like his true Facebook account, and then there was his like pickup artist, like not pickup artist, but like his little black book, but it was a Facebook account that I realized he was only friends with like his super tight bros who he would go out with, and then like the women he would meet. And this cat, I forget his real name, but his fake profile was like Eric Randy. And for like a decade after I met him, every year on my birthday, I would get a message from him. Like, that's commitment to your little black book.
Yeah.
Like,
what? So he was using two different names?
Yeah, he had his like, there was like the Facebook account that he was like friends with his parents on, and probably was the one that employers knew about, and like, and then he had a second Facebook, which is what his friends would tag him in for like party photos, or like, I was aghast when I saw this profile, and there was this video of like this weekend. It wasn't a video. This was like the 2000s,
right?
Like 2007 or something. He had like a montage of photos. You can see like part of my face in one of them, and I was like, get me off
block it out.
Irish dudes, they wild. There were
that must be an Irish guy thing, though. That must be an Irish guy thing, because I saw my Irish guy on Hinge using a different name, and I remember you telling me that. And I screenshotted it. I totally DM'd him. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, gotta keep a low profile. That was a horrible Irish accent.
I thought it was perfect.
My family would be so disappointed.
But you also, you might be wanting to save this for a very special
it's too much content.
You know, speaking of wild nights we've shared, solving that mystery was a beautiful evening.
You know what? Everybody needs to hold on to like their breath, because I'm going to have you back on, and we're going to talk maybe exclusively about catfishing.
We should get all of the girls who were together that night that solved the mystery
Oh my God.
back on to walk through it. Don't worry, fans. If you are worried that this is a lot of buildup for something you're gonna have to wait a long time for, it's gonna be worth it. The time Rocky got catfished is a truly epic story.
Yeah, it is. And I promise you, Lauren, I will. I mean, I can't promise that I won't tell that story on another episode because it's
so good.
Too good. Oh,
it's
God,
too good.
It was so hot.
I'm just grateful that you learned from it. I'm grateful that you learned from it and now you know how to identify red flags. Yeah, that's the moral of that story.
I identify them. Do I obey? Do I abide by the red flag rule? No, hell no. But
hey, as long as you're aware of what you're choosing to do. That's the whole thing. Just be
She's
the
aware.
choice is yours. Just be She aware. She know what she did.
Lauren, this was so amazing. This was a great chat.
It's always a great chat when you're involved.
It's always a great chat when you're involved. Now, for anyone listening who is a Lauren Brickman fan, and if you're not a Lauren Brickman fan, I bet you after hearing this, you will be. How can people reach out to you? How can people follow you? Talk a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, well, every Tuesday morning across all podcasting platforms, you can check out my little ditty called We Stand Together that I co-host with Caitlin Bitsaguy. It's a pop culture podcast, and we talk about all things pop culture. This most recent episode, we did a deep dive into made-for-TV Christmas content. That was a lot of fun. And sometimes we do live streams, but we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, we got the Gmail, so @WeStandSocial is our handle. And, I monitor the DMs pretty heavily. So if you are looking to have a wild night, you can just slide into those We Stand Social DMs. Or if you want to cut Caitlin out of things, you can find me @Lauren A. Brickman.
There we go. And also, you're going to be making a separate, what is it? A separate Google phone number for...
We got a Google phone. We got a Google Voice number on the We Stand account. Feel free to text that number anytime.
We love to see it. Lauren, thank you so much for being on the episode. I loved this so much.
I love everything about you. Thanks for having me.
I love you, Lauren.
I love you, Rocky.
Is it